last 24 hours. Powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by the Kleegr. Good morning, today is Wednesday, Parshas Tetzaveh Ches Uda Tuvshin Paivuv on Edge. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host on Edge. And ich bin I host on Edge in Yiddish. This is where I've been giving my news in Yiddish on Yiddish24.com / news / 271, which is the catalog number of where the news is aired and featured every single morning on Yiddish24.com exclusively in Yiddish. Yes, I've been giving it for almost a year, reaching close to 40 to 50,000 people a day. And we also have this segment called Spin the Edge, where I host guests and interesting people about the news mainly, but sometimes for surprises, I do bring up very entertaining guests as well. For instance, now Lekuvot Purim, I brought up someone whom all of you know, probably most of you know, the Chatzatske Rebbe, Reb Velvel Goldstein. Did you know that he acted on Hask? I'm talking about like in the 80s with my Rachmil Began. It's this guy has been a performer in Klal Yisrael for years, and I interviewed him finally to bring this to light. Now it's in Yiddish. This is where I've been giving my news. Like I said, I give it every single day there. Yes, in English it's a new thing, so not as popular as the Yiddish one is. Which Be'ezras Hashem is the English one will also be as popular, or even more as much. The Yiddish is going to grow because it is growing. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Hoidel Hashem Kitov. Okay, now let's jump right to it and show you what I mean.
Alles an der Sonne, so ähnlich schnell machen Ziegel, machen Gemeinde, so können sich Gemeinde, als ein Mann kommen, so können sich gerne. Aber ein Mann für mir gemacht haben.
1 second.
Arim Same Mervis.
Hij is Goeman.
Ja, Goeman, ja.
Sehr gut.
Wo ist da raus, Jid gekriegt einmal? Gott ist ein Jid. Soll sein gesehen?
Anyway, this is just a tidbit of like a second of the whole entire shmis. It was like almost an hour. We're going to air it this weekend. Speaking of Khomeini, well, in Trump's speech yesterday, the State of the Union was given yesterday in Congress. Last night, President Donald J. Trump warned the country that Iran is trying to build missiles that can actually strike the United States. Yes, Trump says the regime is dangerous and an imminent threat, and they are building missiles that can actually hit the United States directly. He demanded, they say 7 secret words: we will never have a nuclear weapon. The president said he wants to work things out peacefully, but he's ready to attack if he needs to. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is busy talking and busy posting and busy saying and threatening like he's always doing, called the president's warning about their weapons big lies. Well, who do you believe? A Lebanese political analyst named Ismail al-Najjar gave basically a stark warning on television, and he said Iran's weapons terrify America and that Iran can crush U.S. bases and burn Israel down. Now, other countries are taking the threat very seriously. Germany, India, and South Korea are all telling their citizens to leave Iran right away before the war starts. Tomorrow is being called the last chance for peace. American and Iranian officials are meeting in Geneva to talk, obviously. And this is happening as we speak. They're preparing for it tomorrow morning. I don't know exactly what time because it's going to be in Geneva, Switzerland. So us morning, they're going to be probably post or in the middle of the talks. Iranian leaders say a deal is close, but the United States military is getting ready to fight. American stealth fighter jets just landed at an Israeli Air Force base. There are now over 200 American fighter jets in the Middle East. The military also sent in a compass call. This is a special plane that blocks enemy radars and radios. The Israeli military is telling soldiers at their headquarters in Tel Aviv to stop ordering food pizza deliveries. Officials are worried that a sudden spike in pizza orders will tip off the enemy, that a major operation is about to happen. In the military, this is known as the Pentagon Pizza Theory. As the American planes gather and pizza deliveries are being delivered in the skies, the threat of an attack is actually growing and serious, my friends. Yesterday I mentioned here that Iran is close to buying fast supersonic missiles from China that are designed to hit American ships. Iranian leaders are warning that any American attack will cause heavy losses. Meanwhile, Iran is rushing to sell its oil before a U.S. strike happens. Data shows they loaded over 20 million barrels of oil from Karg Island just in 5 days. That is almost triple the normal amount. They are attacking their own citizens from the opposition. Listen to this. Iran's IRGC, the terrorist organization military, says they killed at least 100 people from the opposition group who were protesting next to the headquarters of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in Tehran yesterday. President Trump criticized reports that General Dan Kane, the top U.S. general, warned him not to attack Iran. He says the general reportedly said strikes could drag America into a long war. Trump responded to the reports on a social media post on Monday, saying that Kane believes a war with Iran could be easily won. I guess fake news media, like he says, like spinning the edge a little bit on stories, right? For the I guess for the sake of their listeners and their viewership, to please them, I guess. Israel sent a strict warning to Lebanon. If Hezbollah joins a war between the US and Iran, Israel says, I reported it yesterday already, it says it will attack Lebanon and hit the airport and civilian structures. There is already a standoff happening. Lebanese soldiers set up a new spot near an IDF position in southern Lebanon. The IDF fired warning shots and told them to leave. So far, the Lebanese soldiers are refusing to move. Back to Washington. Yesterday, Marco Rubio, the head of the CIA, gave a secret security briefing to top leaders in Congress, like the Gang of Eight. That's what we call them. We already reported it. The Gang of Eight. They met to discuss potential war with Iran. Senator Chuck Schumer walked out of the room sounding very worried. We don't know what the context of the schmees was, but all we know is that he walked out worried about what he heard. And he said, the government must explain the serious threat directly to the American people. Also in Washington, top Democrats are reportedly working behind the scenes to block a House vote on the Iran War Powers resolution. The resolution was meant to limit President Trump's ability to attack Iran, but now it might not even get a vote. Yesterday, the U.S. military forces intercepted an oil tanker named Bertha in the Indian Ocean. This is the third such seizure of a sanctioned vessel in the region. The vessel was part of a rogue shadow fleet linked to Iran and China attempting to smuggle 1.9 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil in violation of U.S. sanctions. A Russian ship was also caught hiding its location off the American coast, where it was secretly trying to deliver oil to Cuba. Because of the fear of the war, the oil prices, jumped up to the highest level in 7 months. During the State of the Union address, President Trump announced that the United States received over 80 million barrels of oil from Venezuela. He said that the country is a new friend and a partner. Speaking of the State of the Union, President Trump made history last night. The State of the Union address lasted 1 hour and 48 minutes. Now, to protest, half of Democrats didn't even show up to the speech. Instead, they boycotted the address entirely to hold their own counter-rally outside the National Mall. We called it the State of the Swamp, they called it. But not all Democrats agreed with the boycott. Senator John Fetterman called out his own party, Democrats, and said, "It is just disappointing, honestly. I think it's sad that half of my colleagues didn't show up," end quote. The ones that did come made a scene, obviously. Representative Al Green was thrown out of the room for the second year in a row. You remember that story from previously? That he was thrown out? We already reported it here on Edge. Maybe in Yiddish, I don't know. If in English. I don't know if I did the English segment then, but yes, he held up a sign saying, "Black people aren't apes." That's what he held up, that sign. This is a reference to a video Trump posted on social media that showed President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. Now, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, AOC plus 3, she wasn't there, but yeah. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar screamed at the president. Omar shouted, "Liar and murderer." Rashida Tlaib was, Tlaib, whatever his name is, was chanting KKK. Anytime President Trump brought up different Americans to congratulate them for being brave or good, the Democrats refused to stand up or even clap. Trump said, "Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy." Later, he said, "I'm officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by a great Vice President J.D. Vance," and many other things that actually threaten the Democrats in many different ways. Which was not fun for the Democrats to actually take in. But some of them they did like because it was about peace in the Middle East. And, obviously some Democrats, I'm not saying with some, it's just a very small amount of the Democrats that are actually a little bit on the crazy far left lunatic side. Yes. On the economy, the president says inflation has fallen to 1.7%. But by the way, just saying, I don't know if he's right or wrong, who cares? But the point is, no matter what side you're on, if you're left, if you're on the right, whatever you think and whatever you believe in, as long as it has very deep core values and you have your own values and believe in those values very strongly, that's good. But just to bash someone down, even President Trump, the way he bashes people down, you don't have to do it the same way. You don't have to bash people down, and the same goes for the left side. You don't have to bash down with violence and with words of violence as well. It's also not right. For both sides have to learn to be, well, you're not going to teach them, but if you're on whatever side you're on, just be very neutral. Don't be so attached to politics as well. It's not such a healthy thing. I'm not telling you what to do. You can do whatever you want, but to be attached to the outcome of the politics, I meant. Like, you can be in politics if you want to. Anyway, who am I to tell you what to do? He announced a new plan to help people save for retirement if they do not have a 401k. He said the government will match up to $1,000 a year. On immigration, he said that millions of illegals have left the country, and he congratulated his team and said that he kept his promises. Trump also attacked the Supreme Court right to their faces. He criticized the recent 6-3 ruling where they stopped him from using emergency powers to put tariffs on foreign goods. He called the decision very unfortunate, while judges sat right there in front of him. The president honored a few people in the gallery. He pointed out the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team. Well, he flew them in, I guess, for winning the gold medal in Italy. The room, I reported it yesterday, yesterday. The room also gave a massive bipartisan standing ovation to Royce Williams, a 100-year-old Korean war veteran who received the Medal of Honor. He also honored Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, late Charlie Kirk, who was killed and shot for saying what he was believing in, saying that he was martyred for his beliefs. Trump also talked about Venezuela. He says after the U.S. captured their leader, Nicolas Maduro, the country is now a new friend and has sent 80 million barrels of oil to America. Listen to this.
100,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil.
Did I say 80,000? I meant 80 million. Anyway, we just received, in other words, he said, we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil, which is an amazing achievement. That's what he said. The Virginia governor, Abigail Spanberger, gave the Democratic State of the Union response. She said Americans are still struggling to afford things at home and did not hear the truth from President Trump. That's what she said. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, try pronouncing his name anyway, is in Beijing today in China. He brought 30 top business leaders with him to meet with the Chinese government. Right now, Germany buys more than double the amount of goods from China than it sells back to them. China is sending huge amounts of cheap products to Europe, which is costing German jobs. Merz told officials that he wants to keep doing business, but the rules have to be fair. Reports say he will also strongly ask China to help end the war in Ukraine. Speaking of Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, Mr. President, has now entered its fifth year. We're after 4 years already. President Vladimir Zelensky gave a speech yesterday, and he said that Vladimir Putin is not broken. The people of Ukraine, Russia did not win, he says. Basically, in other words, Vladimir Putin hasn't broken the people of Ukraine, and Russia didn't win. A bunch of European leaders traveled to Kiev to show their support for Ukraine. Russia is now accusing Ukraine of trying to get nuclear weapons with help from the UK and France. Indian Prime Minister Modi just arrived in Israel today for a major visit. Listen to this. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu greeted him with a warm hug and also made many big, major achievements and agreements with him. It's actually first time in history. I'll talk about it soon. Later, Modi made a historic speech at the Knesset. Modi said India and Israel have ties going back to 2,000 years already. We spoke about biblical ties. Prime Minister Netanyahu told the crowd, they say India is part of the Shvutim, you never know. Prime Minister Netanyahu told the crowd that the two countries are building an iron alliance to fight back against radical Islam. This is only the second time an Indian leader has ever visited the state of Israel. Modi made history as the first Indian Prime Minister to give a speech at the Knesset. The two leaders plan to sign new agreements and share security technology and strengthen their alliance, obviously. The airports of Mexico are open again. A bunch of flights were cancelled and Americans were left stranded after the military killed the cartel leader El Mencho. His cartel attacked security forces and blocked roads across the region after he was killed. Armed men ran the jail gate and freed 23 inmates. Looters were also seen robbing stores in broad daylight. The Mexican Navy sent more than 100 Marines to restore order. Meanwhile, President Mrs. Scheinbaum is threatening to sue Elon Musk. Elon Musk posted on X that President Scheinbaum is a puppet for the drug cartels, and he said she's just saying what her cartel bosses tell her to say. Mexico is also dealing with a massive cyber attack. A hacker broke the safety rules on the artificial intelligence program called Claude. They used the AI to hack into the Mexican government and stole 195 million taxpayer records. If you are traveling from Mexico, if you're traveling to the United Kingdom, the rules change today. Starting today, February 25th, the UK is enforcing a new law, a new travel permit requirement. This new system applies to foreign visitors trying to enter the country, and also it includes British dual nationals. Yes, this means even if you hold a citizenship in the UK and another country, this new rule affects you too. The permit is called an ETA, and you can get it from the website www.gov.uk. Basically, in other words, you have to apply for an ETA before you travel to the UK, even if you're British and you hold a dual citizenship. Also, breaking out of London, the UK is pausing the approval of the Chagos Islands deal. We spoke about this 2 days ago. This is a massive move because it involves the strategic American military base in Diego Garcia, which is actually affecting the American preparedness for a war against Iran. California Governor Gavin Newsom held a speech in Atlanta for a mostly black audience. For some reason, he told them, "I am like you. I'm 960 sad guy. You have never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech," he said. Basically made fun of them. Critics immediately called the words insulting and racist. They said the governor was trying to connect with the black voters by suggesting they are stupid and can't read. Newsom tried to defend himself. He says he was talking about his struggle with dyslexia. Yeah. The Trump administration is suing the University of California for allowing Jew haters to harass Yidden. The government filed the lawsuit on Tuesday, saying leaders at the UCLA completely ignored cries for help from terrified Jewish workers. During protests last year, rioters blocked Yidden from walking through the parts of the college. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the university allowed terrible acts to happen without stopping them. The lawsuit asks a judge to force the school to protect its staff and pay the victims compensation. In other news, last week, police were called to an art show in the Canberra, which is the capital of Australia. The place had pictures of Donald J. Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu dressed as Nazi uniforms and a banner of the Palestinian flags. Officers investigated to see if this violated the new laws against Nazi symbols. After the terrorist attack in Bondi Beach, they passed a new law that Nazi symbols and the Nazi salute are banned. But then the officers decided that the pictures are considered art, and that it did not break the new law. A senator called David Pocock even demanded, don't know how to pronounce it, that police apologize for even thinking of investigating. Hear that? Up in New York City, there is a historic blizzard right now. Obviously, I think for the second, there was a snow blizzard this morning, but it wasn't as bad as it was just 2 days ago. It buried us in snow, come out 2 feet. We struggled to get buried, unburied, as they say, like to dig us out of the snow. I mean, not really, but just as a metaphor, I'm saying these words like buried in snow. But yeah, videos are going viral showing kids throwing snowballs at NYPD officers in Washington Square Park. The new New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani fired back. Not with a snowball. He told people to treat the cops with respect because they are working hard to keep the city safe in the snow. He said, "If anyone's catching a snowball, it's me." He's catching snowballs, busy fighting with snowball fights, while America, the big America, is busy fighting with fireballs against Iran. Anyway, and that's the news for the day, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk about Protobyte. Protobyte is there for you when you need anything, really, anything. No, I'm joking, not anything. Anything to do with software, program designing, website. Call them 347-354-1237. The information is also right over here. and www.Kleegr, Kleegr.com. If you do call them, if you do mention on Edge, you will get something special. So call them now, 845-335-3343. You'll never know what your business will actually become if you call them. It's going to change everything you do. Why, as Capital Group, the answer is always yes. If you want to borrow money for an investment, a building, 718-831-2168. No closing costs involved. Ask them about that kind of loan. Arrive Express, 845-622-1111. KJ, 845-254-1111. Speaking of KJ, the Rebbe just came to me from KJ, Chatzka Rebbe, and we had a great time together.
Samen so tisch nade machen Ziegel, machen gemeine, so können sich gemeine, als ein Mann kommen, so können sich gerne. Aber man für mir.
You understand? So basically, the point is that we sat together, we had a fun time, we schmoozed, and it was like it was an interview really about his life, about who he is, and it's very funny, very entertaining in Yiddish, and it will be airing Be'ezer Hashem Yisroch this weekend. So stay tuned and looking forward to that. And if you stay tuned on Edge on the Yiddish segment. I don't know if it's going to be an English one, but yeah, it's going to be. I'm going to put it on the English one as well. Whatever surprises arise, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but there are going to be surprises. Stay tuned, stay on Edge, stay informed, and we'll see each other again next time.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by the Kleegr.